Hello and welcome to our presentation. The purpose of our research was to collect data based on the research question, how can teachers improve secondary student engagement based in the classroom? First, we will analyse our literature review findings, following the analysis of our data, and finally we will explore a possible action research proposal for future study. This presentation was constructed by 4 perseverant students, Mitch, Sean, Danny and Alicia.
When considering the first theme, class climate is what comes to mind. The first thought that comes about is called purposeful planning by teachers. This is essential because when teachers have thoroughly thought through and strategically brought about their ideas and have planned what they want to do, this brings about a positive classroom climate. When there's a positive classroom climate, teachers generally have a good perception about what's going on. Their understanding of the way the classroom is functioning and the way students are responding is generally positive because they've been able to view the class in light of what they've already planned. Therefore, this enables teachers to move forward into creative pedagogy. All in all of these 4 attributes complement each other in bringing about positive class climate. Creative pedagogy being the last one is essential because teachers having a positive perception are able to step outside of their comfort zone and work towards having a classroom that engages students in a unique and interesting way.
Our literature review revealed group work as a reoccurring topic. There are 3 major findings in relation to this key synthesis area. We found group activities increase student engagement. This is a result of allowing students to collaborate with each other as they learn from one another and are able to access each other's ideas. Students can share, exchange, and extend upon student experience and knowledge through collaboration. Furthermore, we discovered that students whose families are of low socioeconomic backgrounds and students from minority groups are more likely to experience educational disengagement. By incorporating group work into the classroom, students are engaging and are communicating with each other, which creates an inclusive environment. And lastly, our literature reviews reveal that inquiries need access to information and communications technology, or ICT, to share ideas and information with each other and the teacher.
Another important factor that became apparent through the synthesis of our literature was the theme of classroom leadership. In relation to the pursuit of student engagement, the literature uncovered the importance of a student-led classroom in ICT tasks and its importance in fostering creativity as well as collaborative learning, all of which serves to increase student engagement. Also, in relation to collaborative learning, which we previously spoke about, it was uncovered that collaborative learning can place a student at the centre of the learning experience, which is also found to increase engagement. It was also uncovered that as student autonomy increases, so does the relevance for the students, furthermore increasing student engagement.
The research across the individual questions showed that the teacher's pedagogy and strategies used affected student engagement. This ranges from teachers not using ICT based on their preferences and lack of familiarity with the devices. Whereas once teachers became aware of their views and prejudices, they were able to reflect and change to accommodate for the students' needs and the activity that was needed. This is more important for certain activities than others though. For example, higher order inquiries require a level of autonomy that teachers are often not willing to give based on their experiences and views. This has been rectified when groups of teachers have come together and shared their views and values and ways to adjust to fix their prejudices.
Through the synthesis of our data collection, we discovered 4 major themes in relation to how teachers might improve secondary student engagement. We discovered that a major theme was that content or activity delivery was more relevant than the content itself in engaging students. It is often thought that the quality or type of activities or teacher tools are the most important factor in student engagement. But through the synthesis of our data, we found that this is not the case, but rather what engages students was the effective use or delivery of the tool or activity by the teacher, as when the tools were not used effectively, it would produce a disengaging lesson.
Within data collection, the second theme that was found is titled Student-Centered Approach. The first idea is that it is heavily rooted in student autonomy. This is really referring to the idea where students have somewhat of a controlled freedom when determining what exactly they're going to be learning. A teacher might present a whole bunch of outcomes and provide students with an option for them to choose what exactly they'd like to learn. As a result of this amplifies student interest because it's engaging what they would like to learn. Another thought that amplifies this idea of a student-centered approach is through the inclusion of ICT-based learning, having students engage with a computer or some sort of device that enables them to interact with the material through the means of technology. This also allows a teacher to then consider differentiation, making sure that every student, depending on their ability, is being engaged through the material and through the methods provided.
Teacher responsibility was a key finding in our data synthesis. We found teachers have a vital responsibility to ensure that all students are engaged and that groups are created with purpose and strategy. Furthermore, there is a link between teacher familiarity with ICT and student engagement. For example, the teacher knowing how to resolve ICT issues. And thus, teachers should be responsible for familiarising themselves with the ICT to improve student engagement. I mean, there's no point teaching about a computer when you don't know how to turn it on. Am I right? We also found that 3 participants believe that the teacher is responsible for engaging students, as they are the communicating factor between students and teachers. Finally, as 4 out of 5 people stated in one of our research approaches, teachers are in charge of creating engaging assessments.
Activities involving group work have appeared across 3 different sources of data in various ways. Students stated that they feel like they learn more with their friends. This ability to work in groups is made easier with the use of ICT, for example, Google Classroom and Google Docs. For ICT allows the groups to share their work instantaneously, though group work cannot be done without some consideration. When creating groups, the teacher has the responsibility to ensure that the groups are purposely and strategically created. The freedom of group work requires that the teacher take responsibility and create activities that revolve around the students' needs. Background context. This research proposal draws on research findings from multiple subtopics surrounding the question of how a teacher might improve secondary student engagement based in the classroom. Literature surrounding this topic is focused on the classroom in multiple global classroom contexts. It was discovered that a large number of schools in various countries and environments have current educational research that believes the following are all critical elements in engaging secondary students in the classroom. 1. An effective classroom climate. 2. Strategic group activities. 3. Student-led tasks effectively regulated by the teacher. And 4. Positive teacher views.
By analysing our focal question of secondary student engagement, it was uncovered that the teacher's delivery of the content or activity was more important than the content or activity themselves in order to engage students. Furthermore, in similitude with the literature findings, a student-led classroom focus, group work, and teacher responsibility in classroom management were all discovered to be key factors in the pursuit of secondary student engagement. However, what the data and literature lacked was information regarding the effectiveness of student choice. Now, when we say student choice, we are relating to how outcomes can be achieved, as opposed to student-led tasks. A student choice could be if the teacher offers a series of outcomes and the students strive to achieve these outcomes in creative and self-chosen ways. This uncovered 3 aspects of student choice. 1. The effectiveness of the ability for students to choose different tasks. 2. If students choose to or not to complete tasks. And 3. Student choice in how students might fulfill the outcomes of a task. Based on our literature review and data analysis, we decided the best overarching research question for further or future research would be, How can a student's choice of learning outcomes influence secondary student engagement?
In this research project, we have 3 overarching aims. Firstly, to determine whether there is an engagement benefit to a student who is given the ability to choose his or her learning outcomes. Secondly, to determine what are the boundaries to student choice and how a teacher can define these boundaries. And thirdly, to determine how a teacher's pedagogy or view on student choice influences the engagement of students in the classroom. In terms of our research outcomes, we anticipate that teachers with a negative outlook on the effectiveness of student choice are more likely to experience a more disengaging classroom. We also anticipate that student choice will produce a more engaging classroom when the various outcomes are strategically regulated by the teacher. Also, we anticipate that there is a point where too much freedom will produce a disengaging classroom environment.
The research undertaken has followed a 6-step process titled Action Research. The reason why we believe this is an effective methodology to have is that the teacher, being the researcher, is able to, in the midst of the classroom, collect live data that enables them to gather information that will properly give them an understanding of the situation. From this data collection, they are able to analyze and interpret effectively because the data has been gathered from the source itself and has come from the teacher's action, herself or himself. The students are acting in a way that allows the teacher to observe and react with regard to that. This enables the research to be effective. The chosen method follows a 7-step process. Step 1 discusses the analysis of relevant literature. This is the idea of discussing and researching current literature to inform future research. The second step is determining the school background information. This means getting an understanding of the context that we're entering. The third step is to seek appropriate consent to meet ethical requirements. 3 points are found in the 4th step, namely really finding the correct data collection method, designing the data collection method, whether it's an interview or whether it's a survey. The 5th step is to undertake the research itself. The 6th step follows from the 5th step in that we are interpreting the research and coding the data, which allows us to then synthesize and present our findings.
It is important that we consider proper ethical protocol as we carry out the research project. During this project, it is important that we ensure we adhere to respectful protocol in regards to the privacy, identity, and the environment in which we conduct interviews. Consent must be achieved before interviews, with a priority on privacy and avoiding pressuring people into participation, respecting their time and desires. During interviews, probing questions, misquotation, and questions which evoke an emotional response must be avoided with special ethical sensitivity.